is Jason J. Rock Houston, and you're listening to Singer-Guitarist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.singer-guitarist.com. And today we're speaking with lead singer-guitarist Jeff Carlson from a Jeff Carlson band. And where is home base for you these days, Jeff?
We're out of Las Vegas, and thanks so much for having me, Jason. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, and I got to let people know listening to this, as I explained to Jeff just before doing the interview right now. I never heard of Jeff Carlson band until his publicist sent me a little press release about the band, and I checked out the little teaser you guys had for the song Fire, I believe Firestarter.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you, just based on that one little teaser, it's like, man, this is a great little song. Just this little snippet here. I can't wait to hear the rest.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. The full video's out, actually. It premiered April 1st on Brave Words, but my label, RFL Records, has it on their site, on their YouTube channel.
We'll be sure to send people to check that out. Now, I was reading, Jeff, in the little press release I got, that I guess it was back in 2001 when you started having a lot of health issues. So do you mind starting off the interview talking a little bit about that?
Yeah, you bet. No problem. Well, I was at the time I was working at MGM Grand, and I was a sound tech, and basically I got sick one morning, and I was like, and it was unlike anything I'd ever experienced, and I was just like, what is going on? So I went in and I saw a doctor, and they said if I would have waited 8 more hours, I would have been dead.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and then they basically got me in. And through a series of tests and everything, they found out I had what's called toxic megacolon. And what that means is my large intestine had holes in it.
Wow.
From stress and just life, I guess. You know, They never could figure out why it was caused like that. So they had to rush me into emergency surgery, and they removed all but 6 inches of my large intestine, basically. And I've got... They at first thought it was Crohn's disease. Ulcerative colitis.
Okay.
But later it got re-diagnosed as Crohn's.
Wow.
So I died for almost 3 minutes on the operating table, and because of that, I mean, I don't really like talking about too much of it, but I have to wear an ostomy bag now because I'm disabled because of it. I can't work anymore, you know, and I've had 7 surgeries total.
Yeah.
But my last one was in 2010, so thank God I'm okay.
Yeah. I don't mean to get too personal there, Jeff, but I felt the need to bring it up, if you don't mind, only because, like I said, I was interested to find out all this reading the press release, and what kind of interested me is I kind of find out because of all that, you know, the current album's out, I guess it's called Yesterday's Gone, and a lot of the music on the album, I understand, is kind of based from going through all that, and you kind of come into the realization, you know, that... you know, we all go through like tough times in life, but you know, you never know when something like that's going to kind of pop up, and you have to learn to deal with it.
Yeah, you know, and I kind of took it my point of view, you know, and it's not an easy disease. Trust me. I mean, it sucks. But at the same time, every day that I open my eyes and I'm on this side of the grass is a good day. You know what I'm saying? So,
I hear you. I mean,
I'm thankful, you know.
I mean, we all go through things, and again, I kind of bring it up because in regards to the Crohn's disease, I don't have that myself, but a young man that I used to work with, that I used to supervise at work. I mean, for the whole time I'd known him, you know, he'd always been like really pretty heavy, and then I hadn't seen him for like a number of years, and I kind of ran into him. And I come to find out that he was diagnosed with that, and you know, he looked really different. I mean, he dropped a ton of weight, which had to do with the disease, I guess, but I can kind of relate to knowing somebody that's gone through that, and it's kind of interesting. Now let's get to what we really want to talk about, the music. Now you mentioned being a sound man in Vegas. So have you lived in Vegas all your life, or like a lot of musicians, did you move there?
I moved out here in '97.
Wow.
Basically, I'd worked for MGM Casino. I'd worked for New York Casino. I worked for the Orleans Casino. Mm-hmm. But when I got sick, I had to file for disability a little later on. I was able to work until 2007 when I met my wife in 2006, and we had moved from Vegas to Tucson, Arizona. So when we got to Tucson, I basically had to file for disability, and it took me almost 3 years to get it, man. I mean, it was brutal because a lot of it's the age. You know, they're looking at me going, okay, well, you don't look like you're on death's door.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
You know how the government is. It's slow and slower. So, but yeah, I finally got that, and then as luck would have it, you know, I kept plugging away. You know, I played with Robbie and Corey, my guitar player and bass player, from 97 till 07, and then in 17, I actually got a record deal.
Wow.
From when I was still living in Tucson as a solo artist from Potomac Records, which that record company was basically a small label that was ran by a guy by the name of Mike Bailey, and he was Bret Michaels' drummer for his solo band.
Oh, wow.
So once I got that, we decided to move back to Vegas, and Robbie and Corey I hooked back up with, and we got Todd, and he had folded the label in December of 19.
Wow.
So I contacted John Marhefka from RFL Records, and he loved what I was doing, so he signed me on the spot. So that was really great. I'm so thankful, man.
And let me ask you now. Do you consider? I mean, the band's obviously the Jeff Carlson band. So is this still considered a solo act? Is it just you couldn't really find like a decent name, and that's what I'm known as. So let's go with that.
Yeah. No. Honestly, I took a page from the Bon Jovi handbook.
Yeah.
You know, John was the guy that got the deal, and you know, it was just easier for me because,
makes sense. Yeah.
You know, you have too many chiefs, not enough Indians. You know?
Yeah.
It kind of dilutes things after a while. So it's really just it works for us easier. You know, and that way. It's very much a band. I mean, Corey and I and Todd have amazing chemistry together, and God forbid I would never ever want to play without any of them.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, it's a combination of things. It was just easier for me to do it that way.
Yeah.
And also, every single band name that I could think of that remotely would sound like our music. Everything's taken.
Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, because I talk to guys, and they say that's the hardest thing is coming up with the band name. You know, either it's taken or nobody can agree on what to call a band. And the fact that you already had a solo deal, people kind of know who you are. You know, the fan base you already had kind of built in there. And it's an interesting. You bring up the Bon Jovi reference there because it really makes sense for what he did. Because I mean, he really tried to make it a band, even though it was named after him, with all the 5 original guys, and 2 of them have left since. And even really from day one, if he liked it or not, the band was really centered around John. And it's kind of funny because you got this guy Phil X that's filling in for or stepped in those big shoes left by Richie Sambora. And
tough gig.
He's just like but Phil X in his own right, he's played with guys like Alice Cooper and those legendary Canadians, Triumph. And so, he's got a reputation of his own. But even as a sideman in Bon Jovi, I mean, I'd imagine that's not being an original guy and, not really getting a piece of the pie, just playing on the records or whatever. That's a pretty good gig, I would imagine,
Oh, I'm sure, yeah. It's funny. We opened for Phil X when we first started playing in summer of 19.
Yeah.
Our first gig was at the Whiskey A Go Go with Lita Ford. May 17th of 19,
wow.
And then the very next night we were at Counts Vamped out here and opening for Phil X. And Phil is such a cool guy. He's
super talented.
Nut,
I mean,
he's funny as hell.
He's a super talent. He's like one of the best kept secrets. I mean, a lot of people didn't even know about him until he did join Bon Jovi, but a couple other maybe 1,000 people on the planet. I don't know. Well, years ago, he's a guy that filled in for Rick Emmett in Triumph, but a lot of people didn't listen to that, So, get back to what you do, Jeff. I was curious. So you've been doing this for a long time, as far as getting a solo deal back when you were 17th, and you're obviously the front man, the lead singer, the guitar player. But I was curious. Do you consider yourself more of a guitar player or a lead singer? The reason I ask that is you're a great lead singer, but I know a lot of guys, they start out as a guitar player, and because they can't find anybody else to kind of do their music. Well, I know I can sing. I'm just going to sing it because I just want to compliment you on your vocals. You're really great singer.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I started off at the age of 12 on guitar, actually 10 on guitar.
Okay.
And Randy Rhodes was my hero. Him and Gary Richrath from REO Speedwagon. Those two guys were, it's an odd combination, but man, they were
the guys for you.
It for me.
And I love to talk to guys that were influenced by Randy because there's no denying what a gifted guitar player. I mean, he was he was great at what he did, but what amazes me is he's got those two, Ozzy albums. That's pretty much his legacy because, I mean, he did like 2 albums with Quiet Riot, but they're only available in Japan and most of the world hasn't heard those. So with just those 2 Ozzy albums, though, I mean, he was able to leave such a huge legacy.
Oh, yeah. Well, I saw Ozzy 2 weeks after Randy died. My dad took me to see him in Memphis at the Mid-South Coliseum on the Diary Tour, and Brad Gillis filled in.
Wow.
And at the time, I was a kid, and I didn't even realize Randy had passed. I was like, where's that blonde guy, Found out later, I was like, oh, and it broke my heart. I mean, but man, I dove headfirst into his playing, and he was really instrumental in helping me want to be a guitar player. Him and I mean, both guys in Night Ranger, those guys were amazing too. I mean, Jeff Watson and Brett Gillis, wow.
Well, Night Ranger, they're an interesting kind of footnote in rock history too, because I mean, a lot of people when they hear Night Ranger, they think of Sister Christian because that was a big breakout hit.
Yeah.
But they got a lot harder stuff if you really go and check out the classic stuff they did.
Oh, dude, the first 2 albums. Even 7 Wishes were great.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just killer stuff. Rumors in the Air, where they do that.
Yeah.
They do it's a delay, and they like an Eddie Van Halen cathedral type effect, with the volume knob on the guitars, and that's a bitch to do. I still don't know how they did that. And going back to Randy Rhodes, I mean, I dare say that those first 2 Ozzy albums, if they had a different guitar player, might have sounded drastically different, and I'll tell you why, because people were at that time really interested to see what Ozzy was going to do after Black Sabbath, and a lot of people forget that it was Geezer Butler that wrote a lot of those lyrics in Black Sabbath, not Ozzy, and that's why Ozzy has all these guys in his band that are great songwriters, like from Randy and Jakey Lee to even Zakk Wylde, and Bob Daisley was another one that was amazing.
Period. And he really he didn't get what was owed to him really, but that's another story. But the point with the Ozzy albums is Ozzy wasn't really much of a songwriter. I understand it was actually Randy Rhodes that kind of taught Ozzy how to write a song. So I mean, just think about that, and people fail to realize while Randy was a great kind of metal guitar god. I mean, he first, before he really got into metal, I mean, he was more into classical music than people might be very amazed to find that out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Randy was amazing. I mean, I think he was really gifted at structuring songs, and between him, Lee Kerslake, and Bob Daisley, and Don Airey, all 4 of them, I think they really created what was
that sound, that original
masterpiece, man. I mean, it was timeless classic. Nobody can really touch that time period. I don't think. And Ozzy, I think, I'll give Ozzy credit.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he had ideas of melody ideas and everything, and I think he was really smart when it came to writing lyric content that fit what he was doing. The words "The Diary of a Madman" are amazing.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's why those 2 albums, all these years later, they still stand the test of time, and they're probably the best 2 Ozzy solo albums, I dare say. I mean,
I totally agree.
A lot of other ones, and it's interesting that just this past month, March 2021 marked the 39th anniversary of Randy's death. I mean, can you believe the guy's been gone?
I know.
I mean,
another huge influence on me was Dave Minnick.
Oh wow, another huge talent. I mean, very much like you, Jeff Carlson. I mean. One thing that always impressed me about that guy Dave, and a lot of people have forgotten about Dave Minnick, but I mean, great frontman, great guitar player, great singer. I mean, he's the one guy that really held that band together all these years. He's been the one mainstay.
Yeah, big time. I saw them when I was like 12. I used to live in Memphis. I'm originally from Springfield, Missouri.
Oh, wow. You've been all over.
Yeah, all over the Midwest. Yeah, and I saw a lot of great shows back in the day, man. They don't make shows like that anymore. I wish they did, but very few and far between. But I saw Twisted Sister and Y&T, and it was on the Stay Hungry Twisted Sister tour, and Y&T was on the In Rock We Trust album, and it was just like life-changing, you know? I mean, cool stuff, man.
Yeah. And now, the album that's out right now, yesterday, is it officially been released? Yesterday's Gone?
It's not been released just yet. It's available for pre-order on Amazon. I think on iTunes. It'll be released April 23rd.
Oh, April. That's great. Now, Now, so you've been working, I'd imagine, this music for a while, because I mean, you're saying you had a soul deal back in, when you were 17, and you're a lot older these days. But
well, no, it was in 2017, not when I was 17.
Oh, I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but in any event, you've been working on this album for a while, because like you were saying, going all the way back to 2001 when you first found out you were ill and stuff, you've been dealing with that, and now we've had COVID for the last year, year or so to deal with. What has that been like?
Well, I try to turn it into a glass half full versus half empty point of view. I mean, one good thing is we all took the time to sit down and really detail these songs, and really, there were 3 or 4 songs like Promise the Moon, and The Way It Should Be, and Liquid Sky, and Over My Shoulder. All of those songs were old songs that I'd written years ago, and we just sat down and reworked them up, and I, rewrote some of the lyrics and basically updated them, and we really took the time to detail them, and I think they came out really well.
Yeah, I'll tell you something, Jeff, in reference to what you're saying about some of these being really old songs. I mean, I'm a huge Kiss fan myself, and some of my favorite stuff is, I used to collect these bootlegs that you could get and stuff, and they'd have all these great unreleased tunes they'd never released before, and that's some of the best stuff. But my point being is, it doesn't matter if you wrote a song, 20 years ago. If it's a great song, 20 years ago, it's a great song today,
Absolutely. Some of the best songs, when I actually sit down to write and come up with an outline, if it doesn't translate on an acoustic guitar, you have to, that's kind of where it starts for me, and Robbie, he's a very good arranger, and I think between him and I, and then Corey and Todd, they come in and put their 2 cents on it, and we really try to make it a band effort to make it sound our own sound, and you can hear a ton of different influences. Kiss was a huge influence on me and Robbie, so I mean, but again, I think the key is if you can create a sound that's updated, but yet
your own at the same time,
as much as you can. That's where it's at.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I hear some bands that you definitely hear their influences coming out, and I don't think there's anything in particular wrong with that. I mean, even going back to, I remember when I first became a huge Whitesnake fan back when they released that '87 album, and you had Robert Plant going out there calling him David cover version. I was like, well, okay, I can hear the Led Zepp influence, but he's got his own thing going at the same time, so it's cool.
I'll tell you something. David Coverdale could out-sing Robert Plant right now with a cold, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and part of that is just, I mean, they're almost the same age. Coverdale's a little younger, but, I mean, at the same time, Plant's like 75 or something like that, so... I mean, I love
Robert Plant. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to talk smack about him.
No, I hear you.
There's just, the whole Petty thing. I think he got a little bit upset that he was playing with Page and, Page Coverdale thing. But again, I mean, if you can't respect someone and just let them be, those guys are in classes all by themselves. It isn't like it's some unknown kid trying to copy Robert Plant.
I mean, even and then even that, I take it to the next extent, which is this. I mean, when I kind of tell you that. I did not realize that when I became a Whitesnake fan that was the same guy that sang on that Deep Purple album, Burn, at the time. I kind of learned after the fact, oh, okay, that's him. Wow. And so, I mean, he, as far as Coverdale, he was also, he's also got his little footnote before Whitesnake in rock history. He's also in this little band called Deep Purple.
Yeah, him and Glenn Hughes were in that time period, and those two together were monsters.
I mean, their vocals
were insane.
That was the sound back then. Him and Glenn Hughes. I mean, and speaking of Mr. Glenn Hughes, I'm assuming you're a fan of his because I tell you, if you haven't checked it out, you got to check out that new Dead Daisies album because it's killer.
I haven't heard it yet, but I love Glenn Hughes. He's one of the great ones. I mean, he's incredible. Still.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I got to tell you, Jeff, too, I think with a guy like you, what really makes your music stand out, like you're saying, is not only you can hear your different influences, but like I think you've accomplished that with many of the songs on this album, where you've got that you got that unique sound. And I think hopefully once a lot more people start hearing the new album and the songs, I think maybe a lot more people are going to become aware of who you are. Hopefully, because when I listen to the songs, I mean, they sound like songs by some of my favorite bands. I mean, to me, what really makes a great band is, I mean, you can have a band of 4 or 5 guys, great looking guys, killer looks and stuff, but if they don't have the songs, I mean, people like you're saying, you're a huge Kiss fan yourself. I've always heard people over here say, "Oh, Gene and Paul, they're not that great of musicians, but you know what, man, they can write a hit song. I mean, look at all the hits they have, and 50 years later, they're still doing it. 50 years later, those songs are all being played on the radio. So, I mean, and we're still talking about them. So there's something there,
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of it's chemistry, and two, it's how people, when they hear a song for the first time, it's how they relate to the song.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm really hoping that a lot of people will
dig that,
relate to what we're doing.
Yeah.
As far as what I mean, we've been compared to people like Steve Marriott from Humble Pie, which is a huge honor. I mean, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
We've been compared to Tesla, which Frank's a buddy of mine, and I love those guys, man. They're just amazing. So, I think it's important to stick to your influences and really write from the heart, but yet be very conscientious of making your own
sound. Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
I mean, definitely. And it's just amazing because see another thing with this COVID and all the lockdowns of last year, not only have bands not been able to kind of get out there and tour like they typically would, and we're still finding places, still trying to, even though things are opening up a little more, politicians in certain local areas are still trying to keep everything locked down. But I think that's starting to change. But and then bands have been also forced to kind of make the decision. Are we gonna release any new music? And some bands have decided, what, we're not gonna do anything until this is all over with. Kind of like we were talking about Glenn Hughes. Well, the Dead Daisies, that album was supposed to be released like a year ago, and then they held off on releasing it for a whole entire year. They just released it in January, and it's still a killer album. But I mean, and then I understand they've already got like a second album kind of in the can with him, and they're finishing that up. So a lot of bands are kind of taking advantage of the time. But I dig guys like you that have been kind of in the studio still working on new music for your fans, because again, I was reading your press release and it said that Yesterday's Gone started out as an EP, and you said, what, we're since we can't go up there and tour, we're just going to we're going to make this a full length, and I dig that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a lot of people, everybody nowadays is the whole digital world. Everybody's too busy doing singles, and it's like, I mean, I appreciate that. I get where they're coming from. It's easier that way, but for our genre and our niche, I really feel like I remember the days when, say, Kiss or whoever had a new record coming out, and that was like an event. That was like, oh my God, I can't wait to go buy the new record.
I hear you. I mean, I remember picking up Circus magazine, and and they wouldn't even, and Metal Edge and all that. They wouldn't even a band like Kiss or AC/DC, they wouldn't even dare think about doing a single live show until the new album was out. Like you said, there was an event. It was like a build-up. And you know what?
Exactly.
It wasn't like today where we have the internet where you can read and Kiss plays the same set list. So, the show last night, this was the set list. This is what you're going to hear. I mean, is anticipation a lot more so these days. You didn't read everything on the internet. And
it just seems a little more
immediate,
disposable.
Yeah,
and it kind of takes away from the impact of it a little bit.
I mean, I'm an old school guy like you, Jeff. I mean, I still dig. I mean, a lot of people listening to this, they're not going to know what I'm talking about when I say I miss the days of going to a local record store and spending all day in Tower Records and checking out all those cool CDs. What's a record store? A lot of people have that kind of response. And then a lot of people, like you say, they decide, oh, we're just going to release our music digitally. But I dig guys like you say, you know what, I'm still going to put out physical CDs. I dig the bands that kind of, okay, well, if you want it digitally, you can get it digitally. If you want a physical copy, you can do that too.
Yeah, and two, in October, I think it's because they're so backed up, but our label, they're going to be releasing vinyl with this.
That is cool.
Yesterday's Gone. Yeah, so vinyl's really making a big comeback, which is really cool with me because, you know, again, I remember getting like Kiss Alive and
opening that up.
How cool is that?
Yeah,
man, you know.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you. And you know, it's funny that we're talking about all this because I mean, in the last several years, I mean, vinyl really has made a comeback, a huge comeback, but you never saw it making. And what's funny is a lot of guys tell me, you know, oh, I don't even have a turntable anymore. I threw my turntable out, but I'm going to start getting all this stuff that's coming out on vinyl, just so I can have a collection. You know, I'm like, you can't play, but you want to have a collection. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, well, too, you know, I mean, and even my wife, when her and I moved out here, her dad, he gave her an old '70s Marantz.
Wow!
It's a record player. Yeah. And man, I tell you what, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, you know, it's a little before my time, but my mother was telling me when she was, you know, when she was younger, they used to actually make, you know, cars in that, I guess from the 50s and that did have like turntables in them, if you can even imagine.
Oh yeah, Elvis Presley, he's one of my heroes too. He had a Cadillac with a little 45 player in the back.
Wow.
Yeah,
I remember those too. So I'm old enough to remember when the bands were coming out with 45s. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've lived through it, and see, that's the thing. You gotta kind of grow with the technology. But I dig vinyl making a comeback for the simple fact that because it is so, you know, I think there's only 2 plants I heard something in the use that makes the vinyl, and so it's really expensive to make it. That's why a lot of bands they'll have like a limited run, but that's a cool thing too, you know, for you having limited merchandise, because it makes it more valuable as a collector's item, you know. Well,
oh yeah, totally, absolutely.
yeah, and so what are your plans, Jeff? I mean, are you guys waiting to hear about you know, what the lockdown situation is going to be in your area? Are you starting to get requests to book shows?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We're you know, being in Vegas, you know, we've got to wait and see. I mean, Counts Vamps out here is open, but it's I think only 50% capacity.
Yeah, it's like
so as soon as they have, you know, back to 100, I'm sure we'll get back in there. And my management company is working on getting us shows maybe in Lake Havasu, Phoenix, Flagstaff, you know, because I think Arizona, I think, has dropped the mask mandate, which, hey, whatever, you know, I just want to play, you know. So we'll work on getting some dates here fairly soon. It just depends on
the area,
when the rooms become available, you know.
And you know, another interesting thing I kind of want to get your take on, because I know it's going to affect you guys and all the bands out there that do live shows, is I mean, you got them talking about too now. Once people come vaccinated, that they're talking about, like, in LA where I'm from, but they're gonna, in a few weeks, they're gonna open up like big arena concerts, but they want to make it so nobody can go unless they can prove they had a vaccine. I mean, what are your thoughts on stuff like that?
Oh man, I get it.
Yeah.
But I have a really hard time with
Big Brother telling us what to do, right?
Yeah. You know, how much freedom? I mean, really?
Yeah.
I mean, the whole freedom thing, and that's why I'm so over the mask thing. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But it's at the same time, it's like, you know what? This should be a choice.
Yeah.
You know, we live in the United States of America. We don't live in China.
Yeah, you know? And the thing that interests me about it is, and I'm glad I was able to still go and do shopping at some of these places that we're allowed to remain open, but it just kind of makes me, okay, so let me get this. I can walk in Walmart and Target where there's tons of people, but the restaurant next door can't be opened, you know?
I know, dude. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
I'm so over it.
and I only bring it up, we're going to get ready to wrap it up because I know you're busy, Jeff, but I want to say, on that note, I think, you know, this last year really has made people kind of wake up and take note of just what is freedom and how easy it can be taken away. I'll give you an example. I mean, for the first time in a year, I went to see Godzilla and King Kong in the movie theater. Finally, like, wow, I got to finally go see a movie in a theater. I mean, something like that a year ago, you never would have thought could happen in the. It makes you really kind of, and that's why like when I read in your press release, you're kind of saying, we all kind of struggle and go through things, but they got to find a way to get through it. I think this last year's really taught us all that.
Oh, big time. And it's also taught us not to take everything for granted.
Oh, yeah.
We had before that we just didn't really think about because it was already a guaranteed freedom, and I don't really get too political because
no, I hear you.
It doesn't
do any good.
It doesn't matter what you say. Someone somewhere will get upset
and
about
they're going to twist it around.
Exactly, and it's not worth any strife in my life to
So we will end on this. I think people need to check out the new album once it comes out. Yesterday's Gone by the Jeff Carlson Band, and
I appreciate it.
And I think you guys will love it because the one thing I think, Jeff, we can agree on, and I hope it's true, is that music has always been really one thing, like the universal language that has a power to kind of communicate and bring people together. And so thanks for doing that. And Jeff, let's keep in touch because I haven't had a chance to hear the whole album, but once I do, I'd like to kind of do a follow-up interview in a couple of months and kind of talk in detail about some of the songs. And I think that'd be cool.
Brother.
So take care, my friend. And
thank you. Hey, I just want to say real quick before you go, we did a remake of Journey's Ladu Day, and I had Mark Slaughter play lead guitar on it.
How cool is that? Real quick, have you known Mark for a while? Because I know he's from Las Vegas.
yeah, he lives in Nashville now, but him and I, we've known each other for a few years, and he's a sweetheart, man. I love the guy. Him and I played together in Tucson. We did an actual, it was a Mark Slaughter solo show, and I actually played lead guitar for him on a gig once.
And so is that a video people can like check out if they want to go on?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I'll put it. It's been on my Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But it's a ways down, so I can repost it on. I've got videos on Jeff Carlson Band. We've got an official YouTube channel.
We'll just send people there then, Jeff. But thanks for that. I'll check that out, and you take care, my friend.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, Jason. Thanks for having me, man.